Hello there, and welcome back. Tonight, we gently drift into a world that is both ancient and unseen. A realm so incredibly small that it quietly reshapes everything we believe we understand about life. Microbes move through every corner of our planet, from the still air that surrounds us to the deepest hidden layers of the earth. They are always present. They transform, they adapt, and they reveal abilities that seem to stretch the very rules of nature. Their story offers a glimpse behind the curtain of existence, where tiny architects shape the world in ways both subtle and astonishing. Within a single droplet of water, entire ecosystems rise and fall. On the surface of a leaf, intricate networks pulse with quiet activity. And in places where almost nothing else can survive, microbial life continues to thrive. They paint vivid colors across hot springs, carve delicate patterns into stone, and carry ancient secrets within their fragile structures. If you enjoy these quiet journeys, you might like to leave a like, subscribe, or share a thought below. It helps others find their way here too, one sleepy soul at a time. But for now, just breathe softly. Let your eyes grow heavy and allow your mind to rest. As we explore the gentle world of microbes, let's begin. Microbes were among the very first forms of life to reshape Earth's atmosphere. Long before forests, insects, or oceans filled with fish, tiny cells were already at work, quietly transforming the sky. Some ancient lineages discovered how to use sunlight to split water and store its energy, releasing oxygen as a byproduct. At first, that oxygen reacted with exposed minerals, staining ancient rocks with deep bands of rust that can still be seen in cliffs today. Gradually, this gas began to accumulate in the atmosphere and dissolve into the oceans. Over time, it transformed a world that once supported very different forms of metabolism into one where oxygen-breathing life could flourish. Many earlier microbial communities likely retreated into specialized niches as the chemistry around them shifted. Others adapted, developing new ways to survive alongside this reactive newcomer. Over immense stretches of time, this invisible change in the sky laid the foundation for complex bodies, large brains, and everything we now associate with an oxygen-rich world, all sparked by microscopic photosynthesizers. Some microbes can even breathe metal. For certain bacterial cells, a piece of iron or manganese is more than just a rock. It becomes the final destination for electrons released during digestion. Instead of passing these electrons to oxygen, as human cells do, they transfer them to metal atoms in their environment, effectively breathing rust into existence. Some of these microbes attach themselves to solid mineral surfaces and push electrons directly through specialized structures in their outer membranes. Others release tiny molecules that shuttle electrical charge back and forth between the cell and the surrounding stone. As they do this, they subtly alter the minerals around them, adding or removing electrons in ways that determine whether metals remain locked in place or dissolve into water. This quiet exchange can influence how contaminants move, transform soluble uranium into stable solids, and even help lock carbon into sediments. In laboratory settings, similar microbes have been guided into producing small electrical currents, hinting at the possibility of living batteries powered by metal-based metabolisms. There are microbes that feed on oil as their only source of energy. To many marine bacteria, a slick of spilled crude is not simply a disaster, but something closer to an unexpected feast. Their enzymes recognize long chains of carbon and hydrogen as accessible fuel, breaking them down into smaller and smaller fragments until the molecules can be absorbed into the cell and converted into energy. Different strains specialize in different fractions, so heavy tars, medium-weight oils, and lighter compounds each attract their own microbial communities. When hydrocarbons appear, these microbes multiply rapidly, turning invisible regions of the ocean into bustling microscopic gatherings. And once the food is gone, they quietly fade back into the background. Some of these organisms naturally inhabit oil-rich seeps on the seafloor, meaning they are already present when larger spills occur. Their activity does not erase the damage caused to coastlines or marine life, but it does gradually transform substances that would otherwise persist much longer. These unseen cleaners reveal how microbial metabolisms can sometimes soften even the impacts of human activity. Some microbes thrive in boiling, acidic pools. In places where water bubbles with volcanic gases and the air carries the sharp scent of sulfur, pools can be hot enough to cook food and acidic enough to dissolve metal. And yet, within this harsh environment, certain microscopic cells live comfortably. They are coated in pigments that shield delicate internal molecules from heat and chemical damage. Their proteins are unusually stable, designed to function at temperatures where most life would quickly fall apart. Their membranes are built from specialized lipids that remain intact even when the surrounding water is nearly as hot as fresh tea. Instead of relying on sunlight, these tiny chemists draw energy from sulfur or iron, transforming dangerous chemistry into a steady internal current that sustains their lives. They suggest that life may have first emerged in environments that resembled boiling cauldrons more than peaceful gardens. Today, their enzymes quietly support modern industries that require chemical reactions to operate at extreme temperatures. Other microbes live deep within solid rock, far beneath the surface. Below soil, roots, and ancient fossils lies a hidden biosphere embedded within the minerals of Earth's crust. In tiny pores and narrow fractures, microscopic cells cling to surfaces that appear smooth and lifeless to human eyes. Cut off from sunlight, they rely on energy that seeps slowly from the planet itself, such as hydrogen released through chemical reactions between water and rock. Their metabolism moves at an incredibly slow pace, with some cells dividing only once over spans of time that feel almost geological. As they extract nutrients, they leave faint traces etched into crystal structures, signatures that scientists can recognize long after the microbes themselves have moved on. This quiet community within stone keeps elements cycling in places where no other life can reach, blurring the boundary between the living and the inorganic. It also suggests that other rocky worlds may harbor hidden life beneath their surfaces. Some microbes can survive levels of radiation that would destroy most forms of life. Certain bacterial cells can endure bursts of radiation strong enough to shatter their DNA into many fragments, damage that would be instantly fatal for most organisms. Their resilience does not come from avoiding harm, but from repairing it with remarkable precision. Inside these cells, DNA often exists in multiple copies, tightly packed and gently intertwined, like an archive prepared for disaster. When radiation breaks the strands apart, specialized repair proteins begin reconstructing the correct sequence by comparing damaged fragments across these copies. At the same time, the cells store protective molecules that limit further damage to proteins and membranes. Many of these adaptations evolved in environments where repeated cycles of drying and rehydration also fractured DNA, making radiation resistance an unexpected side effect. Their survival suggests that life might persist in places exposed to intense radiation, such as certain nuclear environments or planetary surfaces bombarded by cosmic rays. Some microbes are capable of remaining dormant for millions of years and then returning to life. Within ancient salt crystals, tiny cells have been discovered sealed inside microscopic pockets of fluid, preserved from distant ages. Others lie trapped deep within permafrost, frozen into ground that has remained solid for vast stretches of time. In these extreme conditions, metabolism slows almost to a complete halt. Protective sugars and specialized proteins stabilize membranes and DNA, preventing internal structures from collapsing. Water inside the cell may enter a glass-like state, shielding delicate components from damage. When conditions finally shift, perhaps through melting or dissolution, even a small amount of moisture and nutrients can be enough to restart life. In laboratory settings, some of these dormant microbes have been gently awakened, slowly dividing again after their incredibly long pause. Their endurance stretches our understanding of what it means to be alive, blurring the boundary between life and geological time. Sediments and ice cores become vast, frozen archives, preserving the possibility of life across ages. Microbes have even been found drifting high in Earth's upper atmosphere. Far above mountain peaks, where the air grows thin and temperatures plunge far below freezing, microscopic travelers ride invisible currents. They cling to dust, sea salt, and soot particles, lifted from the surface and carried across continents by global winds. In this aerial realm, ultraviolet radiation is intense, and liquid water exists only briefly within forming clouds. Yet some microbes remain viable throughout these journeys. Pigments, resilient cell walls, and dormant states protect them from dehydration, cold, and radiation. They can even act as seeds for ice crystals within clouds, encouraging water vapor to freeze around them. In doing so, they subtly influence where and when precipitation occurs. Eventually, storms return them to the surface, depositing them into entirely new environments far from where they began. This constant exchange connects distant ecosystems in ways that are almost impossible to see, reminding us that life does not end at the ground. It extends into the sky. Some microbes can even survive the vacuum of space. Experiments conducted on spacecraft and space stations have exposed certain bacterial spores and resilient cells directly to the harsh conditions beyond Earth's atmosphere. In space, there is no air. Temperatures fluctuate dramatically, and intense solar radiation strikes without protection. Many organisms perish quickly, yet some survive, especially if shielded within tiny cracks or protected from the most damaging wavelengths. Their thick outer layers and dehydrated interiors reduce vulnerability, while advanced DNA repair systems help them recover from damage. When returned to more hospitable conditions, a fraction of these microbes resumes activity, as though waking from a deep and violent sleep. Their survival does not prove that life commonly travels between planets, but it keeps the possibility open and reminds scientists that microscopic hitchhikers can be surprisingly difficult to eliminate from spacecraft. Microbes also invented photosynthesis long before plants ever existed. The ability to capture light and convert it into chemical energy first appeared in tiny cells living in ancient waters. These early pioneers developed intricate systems of pigments and proteins capable of absorbing specific wavelength of sunlight and channeling that energy into moving electrons. Some used substances like hydrogen sulfide or iron instead of water, tinting early oceans with unusual colors. Later, a lineage evolved the ability to split water itself, releasing oxygen, a transformation that would forever alter the planet. This molecular machinery became so effective that it was eventually incorporated into larger cells through a process known as endosymbiosis. What began as independent microbes became the chloroplasts found in modern plants and algae. Every green leaf today carries this ancient legacy, a living echo of microscopic innovation, quietly capturing light just as those early cells once did in primordial seas. Microbes communicate with one another in ways that resemble a kind of invisible language. Through a process known as quorum sensing, they release and detect small chemical signals in their environment. As more cells gather, the concentration of these molecules increases. When a certain threshold is reached, it triggers a coordinated response across the entire population. What was once a collection of independent individuals begins to behave as a unified system. They may produce light, release toxins, form biofilms, or change their behavior in ways that would be impossible alone. This quiet chemical conversation allows microbes to sense density, adapt to changing conditions, and act collectively, almost as if they are thinking together. In the ocean, this coordination can cause entire stretches of water to glow softly at night. Certain marine bacteria emit light only when their numbers are high enough, creating waves that shimmer with each movement. It is a reminder that intelligence and cooperation can emerge even in the smallest forms of life, expressed not through thoughts or voices, but through chemistry. Microbes also build vast and complex structures known as biofilms. Rather than living as isolated cells, many species attach themselves to surfaces and produce a sticky matrix of sugars, proteins, and DNA. Within this protective layer, communities form intricate architectures, channels for nutrient flow, pockets of differing oxygen levels, and zones where different species coexist. A biofilm can form on a river stone, inside a pipe, on the surface of a tooth, or deep within the human body. It is both shelter and city, offering protection from environmental stress, antibiotics, and immune responses. Cells within a biofilm often behave differently than their free-floating counterparts. Some become highly resistant, others specialize in specific tasks, and together they create a stable, cooperative system. These structures are so resilient that they can be difficult to remove, persisting even under harsh conditions. Microbes have also shaped the chemistry of our planet on a global scale. Billions of years ago, certain bacteria began releasing oxygen as a byproduct of photosynthesis. At first, this oxygen reacted with iron in the oceans, forming vast deposits that would later become rock. Eventually, it accumulated in the atmosphere, transforming Earth from a largely oxygen-poor world into one capable of supporting complex life. This event, known as the Great Oxidation Event, dramatically changed the course of evolution. Many early organisms could not tolerate oxygen and disappeared, while others adapted, developing new metabolic pathways that used oxygen to release energy more efficiently. The air you breathe today is a direct result of microbial activity from ancient oceans. Even now, microbes continue to regulate essential cycles: carbon, nitrogen, sulfur, quietly maintaining the balance that allows ecosystems to function. Some microbes live deep beneath the surface of the Earth, far from sunlight. In underground rock formations, kilometers below the surface, microbial communities persist in complete darkness. Here, there is no photosynthesis. Instead, life depends on chemical energy derived from reactions between minerals and water. These organisms may grow extremely slowly, dividing perhaps only once every hundreds or thousands of years. Energy is scarce, and survival requires extraordinary efficiency. Yet even in these hidden environments, life endures, forming what some scientists consider a vast, unseen biosphere beneath our feet. Studying these organisms helps us understand the limits of life on Earth and informs the search for life on other planets where similar conditions may exist. Microbes are also intimately connected to the human body. Trillions of microorganisms live on and within you, forming what is known as the microbiome. They inhabit your skin, your mouth, your digestive system, and many other surfaces. Far from being merely passengers, these microbes play essential roles in digestion, immune function, and even the production of certain vitamins. In the gut, they help break down complex molecules that your own enzymes cannot process. In doing so, they release nutrients and compounds that influence metabolism and health. The balance of these communities can affect how you feel, how your body responds to illness, and even aspects of mood and behavior. Though invisible, this inner ecosystem is constantly active, a quiet partnership between human and microbe that has evolved over millions of years. Within this hidden ecosystem, balance is everything. Different species of microbes compete, cooperate, and regulate one another, forming a dynamic equilibrium that can shift with changes in diet, environment, stress, or illness. A sudden disturbance, such as antibiotics or drastic dietary changes, can alter this balance, sometimes allowing less beneficial microbes to take over. Yet over time, the system often finds its way back, restoring harmony through countless small interactions happening beyond your awareness. There is growing evidence that the microbiome communicates with the brain through what is known as the gut-brain axis. Chemical signals, neural pathways, and immune responses form a complex network linking the digestive system to the central nervous system. Some microbes can influence the production of neurotransmitters, molecules like serotonin and dopamine, that play a role in mood, sleep, and emotion. This does not mean that microbes control your thoughts, but they may gently shape the internal environment in which thoughts arise. It is a subtle influence, part of a much larger system, yet it reminds us that the boundary between self and environment is more fluid than it seems. Microbes are also masters of adaptation. They evolve rapidly, sometimes within hours or days, responding to new challenges with genetic changes that allow survival. Through processes like mutation and horizontal gene transfer, they can share useful traits with one another, passing along resistance to antibiotics or the ability to metabolize new substances. This capacity for rapid change makes them incredibly resilient, but also presents challenges in medicine and public health. It is a quiet evolutionary dance, happening continuously, shaping populations in ways that are both subtle and profound. Some microbes form symbiotic relationships with larger organisms. In deep-sea environments, for example, certain bacteria live inside the tissues of marine animals, providing energy through chemical reactions. In return, they receive shelter and nutrients. On land, microbes help plants absorb nutrients from the soil, enhancing growth and resilience. The roots of many plants are intertwined with fungal networks, vast underground systems that connect individual plants into shared communities. Through these networks, nutrients and signals can be exchanged, creating what some scientists describe as a kind of forest communication system. Again, it is not communication in the human sense, but a flow of information and resources that allows life to adapt and persist. Even extreme environments, once thought to be completely inhospitable, are home to microbial life. In boiling hot springs, microbes thrive at temperatures that would destroy most organisms. In highly acidic lakes, they endure conditions that would dissolve metal. In frozen polar ice, they remain active at temperatures far below zero. These extremophiles expand our understanding of where life can exist. They suggest that life is not limited to gentle, familiar environments, but can adapt to conditions far beyond what we once imagined. This has profound implications for the search for life beyond Earth. If microbes can survive in such extremes here, perhaps similar forms of life could exist on distant planets or moons. Microbes also play a crucial role in decomposition. When plants and animals die, microbes begin the slow process of breaking down organic matter. They recycle nutrients, returning carbon, nitrogen, and other elements back into the environment where they can be used again. Without this process, ecosystems would quickly become overwhelmed with dead material, and the flow of life would come to a halt. It is a quiet, continuous cycle, one that sustains the balance of life on Earth. Even the air around you carries microbes. With every breath, You inhale a mixture of particles that may include bacteria, fungal spores, and other microscopic forms. Most are harmless, many are beneficial, and only a small fraction have the potential to cause disease. The atmosphere itself becomes a medium of transport, moving microbes across continents and oceans, connecting distant ecosystems in ways we are only beginning to understand. Some scientists study these airborne communities, tracing how they travel, how they survive, and how they influence weather, climate, and health. It is another reminder that the microbial world is not confined to surfaces or bodies, but is woven into every layer of the planet. And yet, despite all that we have learned, much of the microbial world remains unknown. New species are discovered regularly, many of which cannot yet be grown in laboratories. Their behaviors, interactions, and potential roles are still a mystery. Each discovery reveals not only answers, but new questions, expanding our understanding of life in unexpected directions. Scientists are only beginning to explore this vast and largely invisible world. Advances in genetic sequencing have allowed researchers to identify microbes not by growing them in laboratories, but by reading their DNA directly from the environment. A drop of seawater, a handful of soil, or a swab from the human skin can reveal thousands of different species, many of which were previously unknown. It is like opening a window into a hidden universe, one that has always been there, quietly shaping the world around you. These discoveries are changing how we understand life itself. Rather than seeing organisms as isolated entities, science increasingly views life as networks of interaction, systems within systems, each influencing the other in subtle and continuous ways. Microbes are not just background players in this story. They are central to it. They help regulate climate by influencing the flow of greenhouse gases. They affect the health of oceans by controlling nutrient cycles. They shape the growth of plants, the behavior of animals, and the stability of ecosystems. In many ways, they form the foundation upon which all other life depends. Some scientists even suggest that life on Earth began with simple microbial forms emerging in ancient oceans billions of years ago. From those early beginnings, through countless generations and gradual changes, complexity increased. Cells developed new structures, organisms formed relationships, and eventually, multicellular life appeared. Every plant, every animal, every human carries within it the legacy of those early microbes. Your own cells contain structures, mitochondria, that were once independent microorganisms. Long ago, they entered into a symbiotic relationship with larger cells, providing energy in exchange for protection. Over time, they became an integral part of what we now recognize as complex life. It is a reminder that evolution is not only a story of competition, but also of cooperation. Microbes continue to influence the future of life on Earth. In medicine, they are being studied for their potential to treat disease, support mental health, and restore balance within the body. In agriculture, they are used to improve soil quality and reduce the need for chemical inputs. In environmental science, microbes are explored for their ability to break down pollutants, clean oil spills, and even capture carbon from the atmosphere. These tiny organisms, once overlooked, are now seen as powerful allies in addressing some of the most complex challenges facing the planet. At the same time, they remind us of the delicate balance that sustains life. Changes in temperature, pollution, habitat loss, and human activity can disrupt microbial communities, with consequences that ripple outward through entire ecosystems. Because microbes are so deeply connected to every process on Earth, even small shifts can have far-reaching effects. Understanding them is not only a scientific pursuit, but a way of better understanding the world we inhabit. As you rest and let your thoughts slow down, it can be calming to imagine this hidden world continuing quietly around you. In the soil beneath your feet, in the air that surrounds you, in the depths of the oceans, and within your own body, countless microscopic lives are unfolding. They move, communicate, adapt, and sustain, all without sound, without effort, without drawing attention. A quiet intelligence present everywhere. And perhaps there is something comforting in that. The idea that life does not need to be loud or visible to be meaningful. That even the smallest forms of existence can play a role in something vast and interconnected. As your breathing softens and your body settles, you can let this thought drift gently through your mind. A reminder that you are part of a larger system, one that has been evolving, adapting, and sustaining itself for billions of years. And as you continue to rest, that system carries on, quietly and steadily, all around you. As the mind begins to slow, it can gently drift across the idea of scale. From the vastness of galaxies to the quiet presence of microbes, life exists across an extraordinary range of sizes. And yet, no matter how large or small, each level carries its own patterns, its own rhythms, its own form of quiet order. Microbes, though invisible to the eye, exist in numbers so vast that they outweigh many forms of visible life combined. In a single teaspoon of soil, there may be more microorganisms than there are people on Earth. Each one living out its own simple existence, yet together forming systems of remarkable complexity. It is easy to overlook what cannot be seen, but in doing so, we often miss the deeper layers of the world. The slow, continuous processes that support everything else. Beneath forests, microbial communities help roots draw nutrients from the soil. In the oceans, they form the base of food webs that sustain entire ecosystems. In the atmosphere, they drift quietly, carried by currents of air. And within your own body, they continue their work without pause. There is no need for effort or awareness. These processes unfold naturally as they always have. And as you rest, you can allow that same sense of quiet continuity to settle within you. There is nothing to solve, nothing to hold on to. Just a gentle awareness that life moves forward in countless small ways, whether noticed or not. Microbes do not hurry. They do not worry about the future or dwell on the past. They respond to their environment, moment by moment, adapting as needed, conserving energy when possible, and growing when conditions allow. There is a kind of simplicity in that, a steady presence shaped only by what is needed right now. And perhaps, as you listen, there is something to take from that rhythm, a sense that not everything needs to be rushed, that change can happen gradually, almost imperceptibly, over time, that even the smallest steps, repeated again and again, can lead to transformation. The world of microbes reminds us that complexity does not always require noise or speed. It can arise quietly through countless interactions, building layer upon layer until something intricate and resilient emerges. And as your thoughts begin to soften, you can imagine this quiet activity continuing far beyond your awareness, in the depths of the ocean where sunlight never reaches, in the frozen stillness of polar ice, in the warmth of soil after rain. In places both familiar and distant, life persists, not loudly, not urgently, but steadily. And with that thought, you can begin to let go of the need to follow every idea, to simply rest, knowing that the world continues on its own. There is a quiet comfort in that, a sense of being part of something larger, yet not required to carry it. As your breathing becomes slower, more even, you may notice a gentle heaviness settling through your body. A natural response, like the gradual dimming of light at the end of the day. There is nothing to do now but allow that feeling to deepen, to let each breath come and go without effort, to feel the steady rhythm that has always been there. And as the outside world fades into the background, the quiet presence of this hidden, microscopic life continues, constant, patient, and unhurried. As you continue to rest, the idea of time itself can begin to soften. For microbes, time moves differently. Some live fast, dividing and multiplying within minutes when conditions are right. Others exist in states of near stillness, waiting patiently for years, even centuries, until the environment allows them to become active again. There is no urgency in this rhythm, only response, only presence. And in that, there is a quiet lesson, that life does not always need to move quickly to be meaningful. Beneath the surface of lakes and oceans, microbial life forms delicate layers that shift with light, temperature, and chemistry. Thin bands of color can appear where different species gather, each adapted to a precise set of conditions. Some thrive in oxygen-rich water. Others prefer places where oxygen is scarce. Together they form gradients, soft transitions from one form of life to another. These patterns are almost like living landscapes, constantly changing, yet always balanced. If you could see them clearly, they might resemble slow-moving clouds or gentle waves, forming and dissolving over time. In extreme dryness, certain microbes enter a state known as dormancy. They reduce their activity to nearly zero, preserving their internal structures until moisture returns. In deserts, this can mean waiting months or years, in some cases even longer. Then, with the arrival of water, they awaken, resuming life as if no time had passed at all. It is a quiet resilience, a capacity to pause and begin again. In frozen environments, a similar stillness exists. Deep within ice, microbes can remain trapped, yet alive, their processes slowed almost beyond measure. temperatures remain far below freezing, and yet, within microscopic pockets of liquid water, life continues at an almost imperceptible pace. This ability to endure, to wait without losing potential, speaks to the adaptability of life at its smallest scale. And as you rest, there may be something comforting in that idea. That rest is not the absence of life, but a different state of it, a slowing down, a quiet conservation of energy. Microbes also leave traces of their existence across vast stretches of time. In ancient rocks, scientists have found structures formed by microbial communities billions of years ago. These formations, known as stromatolites, are layered records of life from a distant past. Each layer represents growth, change, and interaction, a slow accumulation of time written in stone. They are among the oldest visible signs of life on Earth, and they remind us that even the smallest organisms can leave lasting marks on the planet. As your thoughts drift, you can imagine these layers forming slowly, one upon another, over immense spans of time. A quiet persistence shaping the world without haste. There is no need to follow every detail, just a gentle awareness of continuity, of life unfolding at its own pace, in its own way. And as your body continues to relax, you may notice how natural it feels to slow down as well, to release the sense of urgency, to allow each moment to pass without resistance. Microbial life does not force its rhythm. It responds, it adapts, it continues. And in that steady, unbroken flow, there is a kind of quiet stability, something that does not need to be controlled or directed, only observed, or perhaps simply felt. As your breathing becomes softer, more regular, you can let that same rhythm carry you. A gentle drifting, like particles suspended in still water, moving slowly, effortlessly, without a defined path. There is nowhere to go, nothing to reach, only this moment, gradually settling into stillness. As stillness deepens, even the idea of boundaries can begin to fade. Between one organism and another, between you and the environment around you, there are constant exchanges taking place. Air moves in and out of your lungs. Molecules pass through your skin. Microbes travel between surfaces, carried by touch, by breath, by the gentle movement of air. Nothing exists in complete isolation. Everything is part of a continuous flow. Microbes embody this connection in the most fundamental way. They move freely across environments, adapting as they go, becoming part of new systems, new balances, new relationships. A microbe that was once part of the soil may become airborne, then settle onto a leaf, or into water, or onto the surface of skin. Each transition is quiet, unnoticed, yet part of an ongoing cycle that links all parts of the planet. It is a reminder that life is not fixed in place. It moves, shifts, and blends across boundaries that we often imagine to be solid. Even within your body, this sense of fluidity exists. Cells are constantly renewing, Molecules are exchanged. Microbial communities shift and respond to subtle changes in your daily life. Nothing remains exactly the same. And yet, through all of this change, there is continuity, a steady unfolding of processes that maintain balance, moment by moment. As your awareness softens, you may begin to feel less separate from these quiet rhythms, not as something outside of you, but as something you are already part of. There is no need to define it, no need to hold on to the thought, just a gentle sense of connection, present without effort. Microbes do not recognize borders or divisions. They follow gradients of nutrients, of temperature, of chemical signals, moving toward what supports them, away from what does not. In this way, they are guided not by plans or intentions, but by simple responses to the world around them. And perhaps there is something calming in that simplicity, the idea that not every movement needs to be decided in advance, that sometimes it is enough to respond to what is present, one moment at a time. As your body continues to settle, you may notice how natural it feels to release tension, to let your shoulders drop slightly, to allow your breath to deepen without effort. There is no urgency here, nothing demanding your attention, only a quiet space where thoughts can slow and drift. And as they do, the steady activity of the microbial world continues, unseen, uninterrupted, and gently constant. A soft background to everything else. Something that does not need to be followed or understood. Only something that exists, quietly supporting the world around you. You can rest within that, letting go of the need to track each idea, letting your mind move more slowly, like water settling after motion. Each breath a little softer than the last. Each moment a little more still. As your awareness grows quieter, even thoughts themselves may begin to feel more distant. They come and go, like faint ripples on the surface of water, never needing to be held or followed, each one appearing gently, then fading just as easily. There is no need to hold on to them, no need to analyze or understand, just allowing them to pass, the way clouds drift across an open sky. In the same way, the microbial world continues without pause, endless processes unfolding in silence, each one connected to the next, forming patterns too subtle to notice, yet essential to everything around you. There is something deeply calming in that continuity. The idea that life carries on, quietly and reliably, without requiring your attention. Nothing to manage, nothing to control, only a steady unfolding. As your body relaxes further, you may notice a sense of heaviness, not uncomfortable, but gentle, like sinking into a soft surface. Your muscles release what they no longer need to hold. Your breathing finds its own rhythm, slow, even, unforced. This is a natural state, a return to balance. Microbes exist in this balance constantly. They do not resist their environment, but move with it, adjusting in small ways, conserving energy, growing only when conditions allow. There is no struggle in that, only quiet adaptation. And as you rest, you can allow yourself to do the same, to let go of effort, to release any lingering tension, to simply be where you are, without needing to change anything. The world does not require you to stay alert. It continues, gently and steadily, whether you are awake or asleep. And in that realization, there can be a sense of ease, a permission to rest more deeply, to drift a little further, to allow the edges of awareness to soften. Microbial life, though unseen, remains constant. In the background of everything, supporting, cycling, sustaining. A quiet presence that asks for nothing. And as your thoughts become fewer, more spaced apart, you may begin to notice the spaces between them. Moments of stillness, small pauses where nothing in particular is happening. These moments can expand slowly, naturally, without effort. Like the quiet between breaths, like the stillness at the end of a long day. There is no need to fill them, no need to return to activity, only to rest within them, letting each pause grow a little longer, each breath a little softer, each sensation a little more distant. And as you continue to drift, the quiet rhythm of life, both seen and unseen, carries on around you. Steady, unbroken, unhurried. Now, as everything begins to quiet even more, there is less and less to hold on to. Thoughts become softer, more distant, like echoes fading into silence. There is no need to follow them anymore. They can simply drift, appearing and disappearing on their own. In this space, there is nothing to solve, nothing to figure out, only a gentle awareness slowly dissolving into stillness. The body continues to rest, breathing steady, calm, and effortless. Each inhale arriving naturally, each exhale releasing what is no longer needed. A quiet rhythm that has always been there, now more noticeable as everything else fades. And all around you, the unseen world continues. Microbes moving, adapting, sustaining life in ways too small to observe, yet constant and reliable. They do not pause, they do not rush, they simply continue. A soft, steady presence beneath everything else. There is something deeply reassuring in that. The idea that life does not depend on constant attention, that it carries on gently and continuously, whether you were thinking about it or not. And so there is nothing left to do, nowhere to go. No need to stay awake or aware. You can allow yourself to drift further, to let go a little more with each breath, to feel the weight of your body supported, held, completely at rest. Even time itself may begin to feel less defined, moments stretching, blending, becoming softer. There is no urgency here, only stillness, only rest. And as you sink deeper into that quiet space, you can let the final traces of thought fade gently away, like light dimming at the end of the day, like sound dissolving into silence. Everything slowing, everything softening, everything at ease. And here, at the edge of wakefulness and sleep, there is nothing more that needs to be added. No more ideas to follow, no more words to hold on to. Only a quiet, open space. Your breath moves slowly, gently, in and out. Each cycle soft and natural, like waves reaching a calm shore. Your body is fully at rest now, supported, still, at ease. The world around you continues just as it always has, in the soil, in the oceans, in the air, and within you, countless forms of life carry on their quiet work, unseen, unheard, uninterrupted. A steady presence that does not ask for attention, and you do not need to follow it. You do not need to think about it. It is enough to simply rest, knowing that everything continues on its own. There is a gentle comfort in that, a sense that nothing is required from you in this moment. No effort, no awareness, just rest. As if you were floating lightly and effortlessly, supported by something vast and calm. Thoughts may still appear from time to time, but now they are faint, distant, like soft impressions that quickly fade. There is no need to reach for them, no need to hold them in place. They can come and go just as easily as breath. And between them, more space, more quiet, more stillness. Your body feels heavy, relaxed, completely at ease. Your breathing slow and even. Your mind calm, open, and gently drifting. There is nothing left to do, nothing left to follow. Only this quiet moment, gradually dissolving into sleep. And as you drift further, everything becomes softer, more distant, more still, until even this awareness begins to fade, and all that remains is rest.